Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is another presentation of another demo outside the BBC. This time it's over a bad use of words. The BBC was noted for converting a word, terrorist, to a word that was of a lesser importance. So we're here to report this and here to cover this demo. I hope to meet a few people, especially people who I know, who might be able to have a talk about what is going on. So here we are at the BBC once again, showing the BBC with its rabid anti-Semitic policies and converting words from terrorists to that of freedom fighters. And of course, obviously, we're dealing with a demonstration here that is going to be, once again, maybe a hot demonstration. We have quite a police presence here outside the BBC. A lot of people here waving the Israeli flag, and I hope to be able to cover this story, to cover this demonstration, and also to discuss with as many people who are willing to discuss the issue of what happened. Okay? Okay, this is David Cohen for Cooltv-se. I'm behind the camera right now, currently recording what is going on. We're at a demo. I think I've got myself a decent vantage point for me to film what is actually happening. There's quite a lot of people representing news bureaus here, from what I can see, but I can't make out any particular news bureau. And there might be one from France. Okay, so just panning around, having a look.
BBC fake news.
Wow, what a turnout. The last time I was here doing the BBC program that went out where they erroneously reported on a couple of Jewish children or lads on a bus, there was far less people then than there is now. I can't even get into the action in here. This is how bad it is. It's cramped. It's right in front of the BBC. And we're currently looking at a big demo that looks like it's going to rock off. and continue to incite some passions. We're going to hear some statements. Loads of people who are basically capping off a round or two in each direction. But this is to be expected given the climate that the world is in and given the crisis that has been generated and created in the Middle East. And given the fact that there is a rise of anti-Semitism globally. I'm having to speak over the demonstrators for the purpose of documenting and recording what is going on here. And I really do hope that you can get what we're looking at here and see, because this is quite something else. I've covered Likud demo, I've covered the Palestinian demo, I have also covered the previous Zionist Federation demo. This, by far, has to be the busiest and the most complicated and the toughest for me to film. I hope you, my audience in Sweden, are getting how really, really busy this is, and I hope to continue to recording. I am also hoping, as I have said earlier, to get some comments on camera. Continue watching.
Sure you'll all remember the situation we found ourselves in 2014, where people were marching down the streets of London. We get to fight back, and we get to take these people and make sure they face the consequences of their actions. But it's also a privilege, because it means that we're in a position to see what is happening in these extremely sad times right now, which is a unification of people right around the world, of Israelis, of Jews in the diaspora, of our many, many allies, so many of whom we can be so proud of here tonight. We're going to be hearing from a whole range of people this evening. I'm very grateful to everybody who's come here tonight and for this platform. I want to talk to you about the building behind us. And I want to talk to you about the circumstances
Shades of
that bring
Haman.
us here tonight. When Hamas cross the border into Israel and go door to door, slaughtering civilians. There is a name for that. When Hamas cross the border into Israel and they take people hostage, like 9-month-old Kfir, babies, Holocaust survivors, anybody that they could lay their hands on, those usually too weak to run. There is a name for that. How many Jews, how many dead Israelis does it take before the BBC can find the courage to call terror by its name?
6 million.
We have just watched the King Charles, find the courage to call Hamas terrorists. It's not a big job, it's not difficult. These people are terrorists.
Terrorists! Shame on the BBC!
So shame on the BBC.
Shame!
Because it's not... When it comes down to it, I'd like to all think about times that the BBC has spoken out in the past. Because when it comes down to it, the BBC has used the words terrorist.
Every other time!
I'm sure you can all remember where you were in 2005 during the London bombings. Do you know what the BBC called that? Terrorist atrocity. What do you call it when Hamas terrorists cross into Israel and gun down people at a music festival? What do you call it? When they mow down men, women, children, the elderly, take them hostage. What do you call it? You know, when the BBC refused to use the word terrorist, they say that they're doing it to be even-handed, to be impartial.
Shame on the BBC!
But this is one of the few issues on which the BBC demands so pig-headedly that it must remain completely impartial. And I would say it is not impartial to call a terrorist a militant. It is excusing the terrorist. I don't think I've seen people in the Jewish community this angry, and I know exactly why. We have just suffered the worst single anti-Semitic terrorist atrocity since the Holocaust, and yet the BBC continues to refuse to call it by its name. BBC, they're called terrorists. Shame on you! We've been spending the last week, along with people all over the world, ensuring that the faces of the victims and of the hostages are known to the British public and to the public around the world. You'll have seen right across the world, from New York to Australia to here, there are billboards. We've got vans driving around London right now with the faces of the child victims of this atrocity. We've got billboards all over London showing this. And the British public, they know what it is when you target civilians, when you target children. They know it's terrorism. And the BBC needs to call terror by its name. You know, someone just said something. You're not going to like the start of it, but I think you'll like the end of it. They just said a chant. And the beginning of it, don't get angry, is from the river to the sea.
To the BBC.
And the end of it, Hamas loves the BBC. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. And that's quite an indictment, isn't it, BBC? That's quite an indictment. Friends, you're going to hear from a number of people. I just want to tell you a couple of things that you can do this evening. One is there are a couple of great Israelis who you're going to hear from shortly. One of them is Eyal, and somewhere around this stage here, there are going to be some of the posters that you've seen stuck up around London with the faces of the hostages, the kidnapped children. Come and grab them from Eyal, please. Friends, thank you very much for being here this evening. Thank you to everyone who's come together, and I will hand you back to Gary to continue.
Wasn't that brilliant, Gideon? Fantastic, thank you, Gideon. Our second speaker this evening is the Chief Executive of UK Lawyers for Israel, Jonathan Turner. UK Lawyers for Israel is another fantastic group that's the most successful in fighting those who are attacking Israel and standing up for Israel from a legal perspective. Jonathan.
Does this work? Can you hear me? Yeah. Friends, thank you for coming here on this cold evening. The BBC use a variety of excuses for not describing terrorist acts on Israelis as terrorists. They say, we just report the facts without using pejorative words, and we let the audience make up its mind. But the BBC never misses an opportunity to say that Israeli actions are illegal. They're quite willing to use words critical of Israel. They just don't use critical words to describe those who murder Israelis. They say, but the word terrorist means different things to different people, and we wouldn't want to confuse anyone. But many attacks are plainly terrorist. According to the normal use of the word, according to the definition of terrorism in UK law in the Terrorism Act, according to the definitions in the International Conventions for the Suppression of the Financing of Terrorism and Terrorist Bombings, and those conventions have been adopted by the UN General Assembly and nearly all UN states. But still the BBC say, and I quote, today the UN member states still have no agreed definition of terrorism. That is what they say, and they are plain wrong. In any case, if the BBC wants to be impartial in relation to Israel, it should not be taking guidance from the United Nations, whose General Assembly has adopted 140 resolutions condemning Israel since 2015 and 64 resolutions condemning all other countries in the rest of the world combined. And thank you for the superb UN Watch for the data. It's on their website. Well, then the BBC say, well, it's just a word. Audiences can see what happens and draw and decide whether it was terrorism or not. But the message conveyed is that Palestinian terrorism is somehow equivalent to Israeli military action against terrorists. Palestinians kill a few Israelis, and Israelis kill far more Palestinians, and who is more to blame? Obviously Israel. The reality does not come across that Israel uses its army to protect its civilians from terrorism, while Hamas uses civilians to shield its terrorists from the Israeli army. And finally, the BBC say, in the words of veteran broadcaster John Simpson, he said, we have always avoided the word terrorist. Just as he said, can you believe this, he said, just as BBC broadcasters were told not to call Nazis evil during the Second World War. Not the finest example to follow, one might think, particularly when addressing the concerns of Jewish people. But in any case, the point is not true. Gideon has already mentioned that the BBC used the word terrorist when there were terrorist attacks in London. And the wonderful Hadar Sella of Camera UK has collected examples of the BBC using the word terrorist in relation to attacks not only in London, but in Stockholm, Barcelona, Nice, Berlin, Halle in Germany, Breivik in Norway, Tunisia, Algeria, Kuwait, and yes, in the West Bank as well. But only when the attacks were by Jews.
They're not terrorists, they're puppets!
Some other broadcasters also refused to describe terrorist attacks targeting Israel as terrorism, maybe because they followed the BBC's example, and part of the problem is that the BBC is so influential, not only with audiences, but with the media industry. And the failure to describe terrorist attacks targeting Israel as what they are is only the tip of an enormous iceberg of pervasive anti-Israel bias at the BBC. To take one of the many recent examples, the BBC have stated and implied that Israel treacherously attacked the civilians it encouraged to evacuate the north of the Gaza Strip as they were on their way south through an authorised corridor. And the BBC have also allowed Palestinian propagandists to repeat this allegation on air without challenge. But the Israel Defence Forces have confirmed that they did not operate in the area at the time, and experts have confirmed that it appears to be an explosion from ground level, not a bomb or missile from an aircraft. It is likely that the explosion was part of Hamas's attempt to persuade civilians to stay in place as human shields. But the BBC has not withdrawn the allegation and has reinforced it by saying that the video was verified. And no doubt it was a video taken at that time and place and not doctored. But the allegation that Israel fired a missile or dropped a bomb has been denied. A survey of 4,000 British Jews back in 2010 found that 79% considered that the BBC's news was biased against Israel. Now, that is a very high percentage for a community as diverse and fractured as the British Jewish community. As they say, 2 Jews, 3 opinions, except when it comes to the BBC. Well, actually 2 opinions on the BBC, either somewhat biased or heavily biased against Israel. And the experts who conducted the survey reported that the sample overrepresented the more liberal and dovish elements in British Jewish communities. So the actual percent of British Jews who thought that the BBC was biased against Israel was even higher than 79%. And I don't think things have got better since then. I think they've got worse. Now, I'm only one of a tiny minority of people who has made complaints about the BBC's coverage of Israel that have actually been upheld. But my experience of the BBC's complaints procedure was a turning point in my life. The obfuscation and dishonesty that I encountered when I showed that they were wrong was extraordinary.
They don't care!
Even when the governing body upheld my complaints, the BBC still used its power as a media organisation to obscure and undermine the findings. I had a premonition. I've called it my Dreyfus moment. I foresaw continuing misinformation and bias in the media against Israel, particularly by the BBC, resulting in increasing anti-Semitism and anti-Semitic attacks on Jews in Britain, increasing hostility at universities, schools, workplaces and on the street, until all or most of British Jews drift away or hide themselves away And I've watched this happening over the last 15 years. I and others told the BBC that their bias was promoting anti-Semitism, but they dismissed our concerns with haughty condescension.
Disgusting!
This started me on a path that led to the formation and development of UK Lawyers for Israel. And yet perhaps we are at a hinge of history. The barbarity and enormity of the attack by Hamas and its terrorist allies 9 days ago has opened eyes. Leaders of the British government and the opposition, as well as other senior politicians and lawyers of the greatest eminence, have spoken out against the BBC's refusal to characterise Hamas attacks as terrorism, and I thank them all. A chink has opened up in a door that had been so firmly shut in our faces. We should push on this door with all our might, as if our survival depends on it. What should we do? Well, we can make complaints to the BBC and appeal to Ofcom. That will not break through the BBC's defensive lines. They have hordes of staff whose job is to obfuscate and deny complaints, but it will peel them down. Perhaps Ofcom will pick it up, even though their content board still includes a substantial number of ex-BBC staffers, albeit fewer than they used to be. But we need to do other things as well, because that, I don't think, will be enough. We need to talk to politicians. We need to write to your MP, talk to your MP, write to ministers, get this across. The BBC is having its mid-term licence review at the moment. It started last year.
Defund them! Defund the BBC! Defund the BBC! Defund the BBC! Defund the BBC! Defund the BBC!
The review.
Defund the BBC! Defund the BBC!
The BBC review has been paused. We don't know why. It hasn't been announced. But it has to be completed by the end of 2024. So right now, communicate to politicians now. And talk to your friends as well. Talk to those who might be persuaded by the truth. Might be persuaded to take up our cause with us. This is something that they come first for the Jews, but others are in line after us. And there are many people of goodwill in Britain, in the BBC even. Talk to them, get our message across. We will not stand for this. And do this now. Seize the moment that we have to get our message across.
Defund the BBC! Defund the BBC! Defund the BBC!
Jonathan, thank you so very much for that. Our next speaker is the first of two speakers from Israel. We have a young man called Asher. Please, can I have quiet, please? Please. Right. The next speaker is the first of two speakers from Israel. His name is Asher Idrei. He is a young Israeli professional, and he volunteers all of his time to advocating for Israel and supporting the battle against terrorists.
Alright, before I start my speech, I don't know if anybody know, all of you know what Busha means. It means shame. And together we go, Busha! 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 As I woke up on Saturday morning, and heard about the massive attack, about the murder, the rape and desecration of our people, my heart instantly sank. This Black Saturday is a day that will go down in history as one of the most tragic and painful days that us Jews, us Israelis, have experienced and will be remembered for generations. I had been privileged to have served in the IDF Air Force. And experienced just a fraction of the hard work that our incredible soldiers are doing in order to protect our loved ones. And trust me, if it was hard for me then, I can only imagine the long days and sleepless nights our soldiers are experiencing. There is something unbelievably special about us globally. And even though we are seeing it through these tough times, it shows the rest of the world one thing. We are unmatched. We are one nation. Worldwide. And we are now here for one purpose and one purpose only. To stand strong with our brothers, with our sisters, with Israel. Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel Chai, Am Israel Chai, Am Israel Chai, Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel Chai. We are all mourning, but we are not yet broken. We will not be broken. Yeah! The global support that each and every one of you has given, whether by donations, volunteering, or even showing up today in solidarity for our brave soldiers standing in harm's way, protecting our nation, is unmatched. Our nation, our people, we are unmatched. It brings me tears of joy to hear from fellow friends and family who are currently on the front line and reporting their endless appreciation and backing that they are feeling from everyone around the world, knowing that we are right behind them each and every step of the way. It really is overwhelming to see everyone come together as one during these difficult times, and it makes me proud to say, I am Jewish. I am Israeli, an Israeli. Only yesterday, my best friend, who is currently serving on the front line, protecting our borders, said to me this: I've eaten better in the last couple of days than I've eaten at home. The love we are receiving is on another level. It really allows us to have a clear head and concentrate on protecting our country and doing what needs to be done in order to restore peace back to our promised land. Hamas has awoken the lion, and the lion will not rest until peace has been restored to every single Israeli citizen and every Jew on the planet. Am Yisrael Chai. I wish the most health, support, strength to all of our soldiers, family, loved ones in Israel. Amen.
Wasn't that absolutely brilliant? You know, I have to share a secret with you. Asher told me before he spoke that tonight was going to be his first ever speech in public. But if he does that well, his future is absolutely golden. Thank you. Our next speaker is Johnny Gould. Johnny Gould is a famous TV presenter and commentator. Johnny runs Johnny Gould's Jewish State, and he regularly interviews top politicians, military people, ambassadors, other media celebrities. It's great to listen to Johnny Gould's Jewish State, and now it's great to listen to Johnny Gould.
Thank you very much, friends. A very good evening to you all. We've been here before, haven't we?
Yes.
Literally and metaphorically. Now, I started my broadcast career at the BBC. Not here, at Pebble Mill in Birmingham. It was all right. Back in the 1980s. You don't remember it, do you? Back then, the BBC set very high standards in many, many ways. Standards in production, thoroughness, and professionalism. And something unsaid in the culture of the BBC back then, there was a conduct. It's English for Menschkeit. There was a behaviour which underpinned all of the BBC standards. And it was that which built its reputation over many decades. So fast forward to today. Do their standards include all of those facets we remember then, from years ago? Do they? When we see the BBC double down on its own bad reporting, criminal reporting, looking inward in the name of self-protection over everything else, including morality, we think of the disgrace, and we were here before, weren't we, at the Hanukkah bus rally.
Yes. Lies!
Lies. Where the Jewish community, attacked by thugs as they danced on a double-decker down Oxford Street, was instead blamed on the Jews.
Shame on the BBC! Shame on you! 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 Shame!
Only for the BBC eventually to accept partial fault under pressure from all of us who cared early the following year. Some of us protested at this very spot. And now we're back. When we see editorial breaches by BBC Arabic,
Supporting terrorists!
Barbarians!
Social media posters!
Murderers!
not just in the last week, but going back, the glorification of Jordanian terrorist Ahlam Aref Ahmad al-Tamimi, sentenced to 16 life sentences for murdering diners at a Jerusalem pizza parlor.
Hamas terrorists! Hamas terrorists!
Hamas terrorists! Hamas terrorists!
Hamas terrorists! Hamas terrorists! Hamas terrorists!
BBC Arabic, profiled without mentioning her murderous crimes, framed her as a them and us, heroine of the struggle with Zionist Israel and America. All the while, given a platform by and the legitimacy of a BBC watermark in the corner of the screen. They put lipstick on a pig. Not my words, the words of Arnold Roth, father of one of the victims, Malky Roth. He told me on the podcast. Arnold believes the BBC have lost their moral compass. Ladies and gentlemen, who can argue with that? And now, as the House of Israel mourns the worst atrocity committed against the Jewish people since the Holocaust, we won't forget the BBC.
Never!
The belligerent, insistent use of the words gunman,
Patrolling us! Disgraceful!
militants, their words to describe Hamas, a prescribed terrorist group by our government. Hamas, who decapitated babies, burnt bodies alive, executed people in their own homes, at the bus stop, at a peace festival.
They tried to deny it! The media tried to deny these as well!
Terrorists? No, that's taking sides, isn't it, John Simpson? Tweet after tweet after tweet, defending himself and thanking his friends. Oh, thank you so much. You've been wonderful. Like he'd won a bleeding Oscar. You're at grass, mate. You're finished. You're finished. You're finished, Simpson. You're finished.
Shame on you! 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 Shame on you!
I'm going to go for a cheat here. I'm going to say Jeremy Bowen as well. Out, out, out. Not, however, another John Sopel, former BBC colleague of Simpson's, took a more realistic view. He tweeted, quotes, "The guidelines I followed for years are no longer fit for purpose, and sadly, they have the effect of sanitising." It's more than that, isn't it, John? The BBC are excusing it. And because Simpson fetishises due impartiality like Switzerland hides behind so-called neutrality. And wasn't it another John Sargent who scoffed at our friend here on the stage, National Jewish Assembly Chief Exec Gary Mond on live TV? Disgusting. Sargent's Old Boys Club Playhouse needs tearing down. Shame on the BBC. Number 10 on the team sheet tonight, Gary Lineker. Gary Lineker's response to the new social media guidelines.
How much can I earn from it?
How much can I earn from it? So have the BBC amended their impartiality rules for presenters? Gary's response, eminently sensible. God forbid.
He's a stick of shit, that boy.
The All-England footballing hero, never once booked during his England career. Originally hired as the reassuring and familiar face of TV football in the UK. Let me ask you, does he still make you feel good on a Saturday night? No! Knowing what he thinks? Allowed to spout it on the socials?
It's all right, because he's got Qatari money.
Red card, Gary. It's the lack of accountability in there which is actually most repulsive. And if this is where the BBC has ended up, I know for a fact there are fair-minded people in there.
Even worse!
There are fair-minded journalists in there, I know for a fact, who are prisoners of conscience, they can't speak out, right? Because the BBC may stand for diversity of people, but not for diversity of opinion.
And not for Jews and not for Israel.
We all pay for this with our licence fee.
Some of you pay it.
I haven't checked your bank accounts. But let me ask you, media's still important, isn't it? What price is our nation paying for a self-serving, inward-looking organisation on full mission creep? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
That was absolutely brilliant. Well done, Johnny.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Our fifth speaker. Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel. Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel. Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel. Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel. It's hard for me to compete with the singing, as much as I want to join in as well. But we're coming on to our fifth speaker now. After the fifth speaker, we're going to have some music. We're going to have a lot of Hebrew songs. But before then, it's my great pleasure to introduce Ayal Biram, who served for many years in the IDF. Tragically, he's lost quite a few friends in the recent massacres. It's horrendous. But Ayal also runs an organisation called Israel Is, which seeks to link up young Israelis with their counterparts in other Middle East countries and around the world. Ayal.
Last Saturday, I opened my phone and I saw 11 calls of my friends. They all been called to reserves. That was the worst day that the Jewish people had since the Holocaust. My friends told me a few hours after how they entered the houses in Kibbutz Be'eri and they saw babies that were beheaded. That they saw women that were raped and then murdered in front of their families. That they saw people all around the kibbutz shot in the head. And I want to ask you, what is it? What is it? What is it? This organization knows exactly who is the Taliban. Who is the Taliban? Who is Hezbollah? And who is Hamas? You should remember that this fight, we are not alone. We have the entire world standing with Israel. Last week, I was interviewed by the BBC. When the interview started, they introduced me as Ayal Biram, the former captain of the IDF, that right now his friends are fighting the militants of Hamas. The militant of Hamas. And I corrected them. And you know what's happened in Organization of Freedom of Speech? They cancelled me. They throw me up. And if you will try to find this interview online, it was deleted. Shame on them! Shame on them! Shame on them! Israel is a country that by the freedom of speech, that by the civilization and the democracy we have in Israel, we've been able to create this incredible story of the Jewish people building our new state. But if Hamas would stay in power, if the world would give Hamas a legitimacy to exist, not just Israel would be destroyed, but also the UK would be destroyed. This is the threat for the future of the world, and right now we need to say it clearly. Hamas is a terror organization.
very much. Andre, words absolutely failed me. That was brilliant. Utterly brilliant.
Andre, what?
Thank you so much for your contribution. Okay, our next speaker is actually going to ask you all for a favour. It's my good friend Nitsa Fluss. Nitsa.
Good evening, Londoners. What a wonderful crowd tonight. I'm sure I speak on behalf of all of us in thanking the National Jewish Assembly for arranging this event, our chairman Gary Mond, and Steve Winston, where are you? Thank you so much for arranging this event tonight. And as a sign of gratitude, I want everyone to take out their phones. Can you all take out your phones now? And put it onto what was Twitter and X. And I would like you to type in capitals. Can I see everyone's phones? I can't see anyone's phones. Thank you very much. Okay, so it's in capitals. Have you all got your X accounts open? Please open your X accounts now.
They blocked me for calling Hamas terrorists.
And type in capitals NJA_UK. Okay, can you repeat after me? Everyone repeat after me. NJA_UK. Thank you so much. Yeah, and also follow, of course. You must follow it. Okay? And then you have all the updates of what all the events they're doing. They're doing fabulous stuff. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you so much, Nitsa, and hopefully all of you are doing that. NJA_UK. We've got about we're only a year old, so we've only got about 2,700 followers. We want to massively boost that number, and I hope all of you will help shore up our numbers of followers. Thank you so much. Our next speaker tonight, we've had two speakers from Israel. Now we have a speaker from Iran. We have Eli Bohan, who runs a group called Stages of Freedom, and she believes in fighting for Iran to be free of the mullahs who are destroying the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we Iranians gather here with you. In unwavering solidarity with the victims of the recent terrorist attack in Israel. Our hearts are heavy with grief as we think of the pain and suffering endured with those affected by this senseless acts of violence perpetrated by Hamas.
Shame! Terrorists!
Hamas, the terrorist organization
Terrorists!
responsible for this heinous act, could not have planned and executed it without the support and backing of the IRGC. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This collaboration between these two groups has only fueled the flame of terror, causing immense suffering and countless innocent lives lost. We demand, with resolute determination, that the IRGC be described as a terrorist organization. This is not a mere suggestion. It is imperative. International community must heed. Freedom to Iran! Freedom to Iran!
Freedom to Iran! Prescribed by IRGC!
We must set aside our political differences and unite against our common enemy.
Free Iran!
The IRGC and Hamas.
Iran! Free Iran! Free Iran! Free Iran! Free Iran! Free Iran! Free Iran!
It is inconceivable that some countries, including UK, designate Hamas as a terrorist organization while turning a blind eye to the support it receives. The leaders of the Islamic Republic have shamelessly admitted to these facts. Celebrating the killing of the innocent Jews and propagating anti-Semitic beliefs. Leaders of the free world cannot claim to support Israel while negotiating with an organization committing genocide. Hamas is not independent entity. It is an extension of IRGC.
Terrorists! 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 Terrorists!
We all know terrorism knows no boundaries and spares no ones. We must not restrict our support to mere words. We must take bold and decisive action. By designating the IRGC as a terrorist organization, we can dismantle the network, the terror, and eradicate the roots of the violence. Together, let us work toward the future where peace and security prevail.
Amen.
Thank you for your unwavering support in critical endeavor.
Free Iran! Free Iran!
IRGC's terrorists! UK, put them on the list!
On the list! IRGC terrorists! UK put them on the list! IRGC terrorists! UK put them on the list!
Thank you very, very much.
I was shaking!
And yes, the IRGC is also a terrorist organisation, roundabout. So our next speaker is Lance Foreman. He's a former Conservative member of the European Parliament. And for those of us here who like smoked salmon, he is Britain's biggest importer of smoked salmon. Lance.
Oh, Lawrence, just like you haven't been.
Free smoked salmon, how you going to have?
Has it gone? Yeah.
It's 6:30 a.m. and this is the BBC News. A barbaric attack has taken place in Israel, savagely murdering 1,400 innocent civilians by terrorist group Hamas. There, I said it, by terrorist group Hamas. It's not difficult, BBC! Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard for you to tell the truth? Hamas is a terrorist group. It's prescribed under British law. Aren't you the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation? Or is it the PBC, the Palestinian Broadcasting Corporation?
Shame on you!
You told us you never call anyone terrorists, but we know that's a lie. You called the 7/7 bombers terrorists. You called the London Bridge attackers terrorists. You called the Manchester Arena bombers terrorists too. Is it just when it's Jews that are targeted that terrorists suddenly become militants?
Shame on you! 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 Shame on you!
Once we uncovered those lies, you changed your tune and claimed it's because you have to be neutral. Neutral? Are you funded by British licence fee payers or by Hamas? I do wonder. Are you funded by Hamas? How is it? BBC Hamas TV is right. How is it not neutral to call a terror attack a terror attack? You are not being neutral if you're siding with terror, if you're not calling it by its name. Terror! So now your latest excuse, as tweeted by one of your reporters, Nick Robinson, is that you have to be careful because you need to protect journalists from dangers on the ground. And yes, we know Hamas has no problem murdering unfriendly journalists, we know that. But in so doing, BBC, you are basically admitting that you don't call them terrorists because they're terrorists! This has been going on so long now. It's been going on so long. Our British Jewish community wonders whether it is just fear or whether you side with their agenda. 30 years of drip, drip demonisation of Israel on our screens when Israel has so many positive stories to tell. And 30 years of sympathetic cover for the Palestinian leadership. I don't recall the last time you asked Mahmoud Abbas about Palestinian LGBTQ policy.
Where's the church in Gaza?
Yesterday, we even saw some of your journalists on BBC Arabic actively tweeting in support of Hamas. BBC BBC, you shame yourselves. As you have done so many times in recent years, from Jimmy Savile to Martin Bashir, it's not like we're asking you to pick a side when it comes to Brexit or net zero. Hamas is a terrorist organisation that celebrates the slaughter of babies, gang rapes, burns children alive, kidnaps Holocaust survivors. You cannot be neutral with evil. You have to pick a side. And for the sake of humanity, I suggest it's the one that represents Britain and British values, not the values of a bunch of genocidal jihadi terrorists!
Thank you, everyone. Our penultimate speaker this evening is Hayley Ace. Hayley is a Christian reverend and an ordained minister, and she runs an organisation called Christian Action Against Anti-Semitism. She's also originally... Hayley, over to you.
Thank you. Shalom, London. You guys are amazing. I'm just going to unlock my phone. You know, it's so heartwarming to stand here together in solidarity against this issue. And I just want to say that the ministry that we do as Christian Action Against Anti-Semitism advocates for unity between Christians and the Jewish community, firmly stating that never again is now. And tonight I want to address two groups. First, the brave individuals demonstrating their solidarity. You guys, well done for showing up and for using your voices. And the BBC, a powerful media entity. That's right. Who have a responsibility for accurate representation. Our concern stems from the language used in media reports, especially by the BBC, whilst expecting online bias that we see against the Jewish community, against Israel. It's disheartening when major media refuses to label Hamas accurately as terrorists. Standing in solidarity, we declare that we must hold them accountable. The BBC must be held accountable. Never again is now, and we challenge bias reporting, perpetuating false narratives about Israel and these heinous crimes. Referring to brutal murderers as militants. This is not objective. This is not editorial objectivity. It's a bias for Hamas. These are not, as we all know, these are not mere freedom fighters. They committed unspeakable acts of terror. Atrocities like beheading babies,
and rightfully classify Hamas as terrorists. This is not bias, it is factual designation. Do you know what? I, as along with you guys, applaud the government, our PM, many media in this country and all around the world, the King, who correctly labelled these acts as terrorism. Thank you, because that is what they are. BBC, reconsider your reporting policies. As Christians, inspired by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who fought against the Nazis, he said this quote, "Silence in the face of evil is evil itself. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. And by the sheer force that the BBC refused to change it is sending a message." Let's not. Shame on you, BBC. Shame on you! 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 Let's not forget that Hamas's charter calls for the destruction of Israel and the murdering of Jews everywhere. This is not a land battle. It's a declaration of hatred that demands condemnation. In conclusion, united with you all, I urge the BBC to reflect on its responsibility to turn to truth and accuracy. Our collective voice, grounded in love and justice, can make a difference. Speak out against injustice and bias for a world standing against terrorism. Hamas's intentions, as expressed by its own mouth, are clear. They seek terror. Hamas has called for Israel's destruction and the murder of Jews everywhere. It's time to call them what they are. Terrorists! Shame on you! 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 Shame on you!
Thank you so much, Hayley. That was excellent. Before I introduce... Before I introduce our final speaker of the evening, I've just got a few things to say. Firstly, I want to thank the CST and the police for doing such brilliant jobs. Next, I would like... Next, I would like to thank Mr. Alexander Raiden, who supplied all the flags for this evening. Our last speaker is a rabbi, but before I introduce him, I've just in the last minute or two been given some news that Tel Aviv has now come under rocket attack. So every one of us must pray for the safety of all Israelis. It's there for It's therefore fitting that the final speaker of the evening is Rabbi. It's Rabbi Andrew Shaw, from the Chief Executive of the Israeli community. And he's also had a career in the United Synagogue. He founded the Youth Movement Tribe. Please do stay. Please do stay until the end. We're having some prayers as well. And we're going to finish afterwards with the national anthem and
Okay, this is the first time I've public after. I'm afraid these batteries are dying. A bit like the BBC. Anyway, I'll give it a go till. Okay. We're going to say some prayers in a second. I want to share with you something unbelievable. Last Shabbat, in shuls across the world, okay, we'll keep going. You don't get this in shul. Okay, can you hear the back?
We hear you, and the whole world will hear you.
Okay, we're back on. Okay, so listen closely. Last Shabbat around the world. It needs a new battery. You can't keep moving back to me. It needs a new battery. That's why we don't use mics in shul, much easier. Anyway, the last Shabbat, across the world we read Shabbat Bereshit about a new world, a perfect world. And this week, what do we read? The destruction of a world. But listen carefully what the Torah says. Vatishchat ha'aretz ne'elokim, it was corrupt before the God. V'timaleh ha'aretz chamas, it was filled with chamas. That was the problem. And then it says, Vayomer Hashem el Noach, God said to Noach, Ketz kol basar, the end of the world. Why? Ki malah ha'aretz chamas bibneihem, because the world is full of chamas. What does chamas mean in Torah? Lawlessness, disgrace. and to realize the only way to fix the world is to destroy Hamas. Every Saturday night we make Havdalah. We made it on Havdalah last Saturday night, making this, and every Saturday night we say to God to allow us to distinguish Ben Kodesh.
Let's see.
Here we go, yes! We're back. We ask to distinguish Ben Kodesh L'chol between holy and secular. Ben Or L'choshech, between darkness and light. Ben Yisrael La'amim, between Israel and the world. But Israel doesn't just mean Jewish people. Israel means the values of the Jewish people. The values of humanity, of justice, of peace, of equality, of love. And I will say to the BBC, to the Football Association, to Harvard University, you need to distinguish. Are you with us? Are you with light, with truth, with love? Or are you with them, with hatred, with darkness and with lies? Hamas is death. Hamas is a terrorist organization. And we have to realize Ben Kodesh L'chol, Ben Or L'chosha, to bring light to the Middle East, not just for Israel, but for the Palestinians as well. One thing must be done by the IDF, by the world, to destroy Hamas entirely. To finish tonight, we're going to do tefillah, we're going to pray. We're going to start with a song I learned in primary school, northwest London, all those years ago. And B'nai Akiva. So, Psalm 121, when you got your sheets, if you have your sheets, police can join in as well, it's a great psalm. We're going to sing it. I can't really sing. I tried to get Cousin Total, he couldn't make it tonight. So please join in. Here we go, pick up the key. Shir Amalot, Esa Edayen Harish, Ve'ayin Yavo, Ezri, Ezri, Me'ir Adonai, Oseh Shamayim. where my help comes from Hashem, maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot give way. Your God will not slumber. He is the guardian of Israel, neither slumbers or sleeps. He is your guardian, your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your life. The Lord will guard your going and coming, now and forever. Amen. Okay, the next prayer is a very difficult one to say. I grew up in northwest London in B'nai Akiva saying the names of 3 or 4 IDF soldiers who were captured in Lebanon War. The amount of captives we are praying for, friends, is nearly 200 people. To understand the hell these people are in, we have to storm the heavens to ask for their safety and their speedy recovery. May the one who blessed Abraham, Isaac, Joseph, David and Solomon bless, watch and guard those missing from the Israel Defense Forces and the captives. The captives, among others, of our brethren of the house of Israel that are situated in distress and in captivity. On account of this congregation's praying for them, may the Holy One, blessed be He, grant mercy upon them, take them out of darkness and gloom, break their chains, redeem them from their ordeals, and return them quickly to the comfort of their families. Thank you. Let them praise the Lord for His kindness and His wondrous deeds for the children of man. And through them let the verse be fulfilled. And the Lord ransom shall return, and shall come with shouting to Zion, crowned with joy everlasting. And they shall attain joy and gladness, while sorrow and sighing flee. And let us say, Amen. Oh. Okay, I'm sorry. Technology's gone. This old-fashioned shul speaking loud. Okay. Tell money now. Going to say a memorial prayer for those nearly 1,500 Jews that were lost in the last week of terror in the land of Israel. As one of those, 25,000 have died over the last 80 years, 75, 80 years in Eretz Israel. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein B'Momim, Hamsei Menucha al Kanfei Hashina, Malot Kedoshim U'Torim V'Giborim, Kazor Akir Mazhirim, נשמות חיילי צבא הגנה ישראל ולוחמי המחתרות שנפלו במלחמות ישראל וכל הלוחמים במערכות העם שחפו נפשם למות על קדושת השם ובעזרת אלוהי מערכות ישראל הביאו לתקומת האומה המדינה לגאולת הארץ. ולקמתמה, ובנינה לגאולת הארץ, ויהי אלוהים בכל הקדוש שבעצם ומחסה, ביד הנצרים מגרי הטרור. לכן, בעל הרחמים יסתירם בצדק רב לעולמים, בצור בצורכי נשמתם, אדוני נחלתם, גרעין למלכתם, ובשלום משכבתם, ועבדו לגאולם קץ ימים, ונאמר אמן. So I've got water, so it's not going to help. Okay. Okay. 2 more very important prayers to do. First, for the state of Israel. I was going to try and sing it, but no way. Okay. All right, you know what? Let's try this. You all know this bit. Avinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Zu Yisrael v'Goalo. Avinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Zu Yisrael v'Goalo. Baruch b'nai Yisrael reshit me'gulateinu chagen alei b'avrat chastecha u'bos alei sukat shlomecha u'shlach olcha v'amnecha l'masheha samev yotzer t'chem b'tzitum v'amnecha chazek et dei me'ech tzenu anchilei melachenu shoah etim tzachon tzalishna ba'aretz tzichat alei yoshveha. Bless the state of Israel. Shield it with your love. Spread over it the the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and its advisors with your light and your truth. Strengthen the hands of the defenders of our holy land. Cause them to inherit our God deliverance. Place the crown of victory upon them. Give the land peace. And everlasting joy to its inhabitants. And finally, before my voice goes for the next week, Tfilah for the Israel Defense Force is the most humane defense force in the world. Of IDF soldiers fighting, we salute you and your children. And to my nephew Eli, we salute you as well. Ali, 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 Ali. Misha Beirach Abatel Abba Misa Be'Yakov. הוא יברך את חיילי צבא הגנה ישראל העומדים על משמר ארצנו וערי אלוהינו מגבול הלבנון ועד מדבר מצרים ומן הים הגדול על נבו הרבה ביבשה באוויר ובים ייתן אדוני את אויבינו הקמים עלינו גפים לפניהם הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ינסל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה וכל נגע מלחלה וישברכה והצלחה בכל משרדיהם דבר צנועים תחתיהם, ותרם בתחת ישועה, ובתר ניצחון, ויום בהם הכתוב, כי אדוני לכם, לכם לכם, לכם לכם, משאיר אתכם, ונאמר אמן. May you bless IDF! Blessed be He God and rescue all our soldiers from trouble and sorrow. Send blessing and success to the work of their hands. May He crush those that hate us. Give us the crown of salvation and the wreath of victory. For it's the Lord your God that walks with you to fight for your enemies and to save you. And let us say, we came tonight to protest against them. We finished to pray. Am Yisrael Chai! Am Yisrael Chai! Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai! Am Yisrael Chai! Am Yisrael Chai! Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai! Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai! Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai!
Okay, as I was saying, so it's the BBC, and they're reporting with regards to swapping out a word. The BBC have been recorded and reported as swapping out the word terrorist for the word militant. That is what this has all been about. And from my experience of having contacts in the Middle East, and specifically with regards to their reactions to how the BBC conduct their affairs in the Middle East, they do conduct their affairs in a rather slipshod manner and a disrespectful manner, but this is an all-time low. To designate somebody who kills, maims, butchers, a militant and not a terrorist is without a shadow of a doubt the wrongful choice of words. And I know full well that if everybody was to understand that if this was happening to them, they would expect such a person to be branded either a terrorist or a criminal. But a militant? No. I'll leave you with that and let you see what's going on.